everybody, welcome to So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to week 2. No. Yes, 2.
Yes.
I forget because it's the 6th movie of a franchise that we've already done the first 2 of.
Sixth movie of a Friday the 13th franchise.
Yeah.
Too much math.
Too much math. But anyway, we are in week 2 of So Many Scares this month, which is So Many Scares versus Jason. We're up against Jason Voorhees all month long. We're talking about Friday the 13th movies. A curated selection, I guess you would say, of Friday the 13th movies, because we're not going to be talking about all of them in detail. But like I said, we have already done 1 and 2. Go back and listen or watch those if you haven't done that yet. And today on the show, we are jumping to the future all the way to Friday the 13th 6, part 6, which is called Jason Lives. This movie is one of it's kind of credited as restarting the franchise in a bit, kind of breathing some new life into it. We know that it's one of the higher average reviewed movies on Letterboxd in the franchise, so this is one that fans seem to enjoy. So that's why we jumped ahead to this one. Jason, or I keep wanting to call these movies Jason, which is like what your insert generic mom would say. You're watching that Jason movie again?
Which Jason movie
It's Friday
is
the
this?
13th, Mom. Turn off Jason.
Jason Lives. Get out of my room.
You don't need to be watching Jason. But anyway, I'm excited to talk about it. The premise for this movie is Tommy Jarvis, who, importantly, I don't know who is. They do. We'll get to that in a second. Tommy Jarvis, tormented by the fear that maybe Jason isn't really dead, unwittingly resurrects the mass murderer for another bloody rampage. David, how did this movie do when it came out in August of 1986?
Well, it did well but bad. Does that make sense? Like, it did well.
Let me guess.
But bad.
It did well because it has a low budget, but bad because nobody wanted to see it.
That's precisely it. And I'll go into a little bit of detail here, but it opened the weekend of August 1st, 1986, in the number 2 spot to 6.7 million. It's not even the number 1 movie of the weekend. It actually was number 2 behind Aliens, which was in its 3rd weekend, a part of a 4-week run at number 1 for Aliens back in 1986. The movie did do slightly better than the number 3 film that week, Howard the Duck, which opened to $5 million. Karate Kid Part 2 was in its 7th weekend with 4.1. And then Heartburn, a movie with Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep, was at number 5 with 3.5 million. Jason Lives would go on to make 19.4 million in the United States, which is only the 8th best for the franchise. I mean, the first movie, at the time of release, the first movie did the best, 39 million. A couple of more modern Jason featured movies would do better. But at the time of these movies, because you got to remember, this is only 5 years after the first movie, or excuse me, 6 years after the first movie released.
That's crazy.
And it's so, we were already at the point of diminishing returns, though. In comparison, this was the worst at the time, just under Friday the 13th Part 2. 5 and 4 were both like okay. Part 3 was the second best at this point. Number 1 was the original Friday the 13th. And it wasn't gonna. And this wasn't even as low as we were gonna get for these particular movies. Now, like Garrett said, on a budget of $3 million, this movie doubled its budget opening weekend. So the movie did well. However, as we'll get into, not necessarily the top movie of 1986. The top movie in 1986 was Top Gun, which we have previously reviewed for this franchise. Crocodile Dundee at number 2, Platoon at number 3, Karate Kid 2 at number 4, and Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, was at number 5.
Crocodile Dundee was the number 2 movie in the world?
At the United States.
Okay.
These are just domestic numbers, because worldwide numbers are kind of tricky going at kind of before 1995 in terms of reporting. Jason Lives was the number 46 film of the year. Some other notable horror movies, I just felt like mentioning some other notable horror movies that year. You had Aliens, you had The Fly, Manhunter came out that year. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 came out that year. Critters, that's a pretty popular one for some people. What else here? The Psycho 2 came out that year. No one really talks about Psycho 2, but that was one people that came out. As far as so many sequels goes, this is our third film from 1986. We did Top Gun, like I said, but we also did, for Animation August, The Great Mouse Detective. So go check out our review of that. But that's it. That's kind of your box office recap there for Jason Lives.
All right, yeah, let's get into talking about what our expectations were. I'm going to start this one because we kind of did it a little different this time, where you guys really kept talking about wanting to watch the movies in the middle there, 3, 4, and 5, and you did it. I did not. We'll talk about that after I do my expectations, but I wanted to be the one to jump into this not knowing any, like if I saw the first two and I went, nah, this sucks, and then 1986 came around and you guys begged me to go with you to the movies, I wanted to be the one to come in knowing nothing. So that's the role I played. You've begged me to come to this, and I want to see how I like it. So I was like, okay, knowing this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a fourth movie later. I'm expecting it's got to be something different. Something has to be super different. I can't imagine that all 3 movies in between were the exact same thing as 1 and 2, and that we're gonna do it a 6th time. Something has to be different.
Oh man!
So I'm expecting that, but I don't know what. I also know from our research, I go, okay, this is one that we know people kind of like in terms of as well as you can like these movies. So I'm expecting something, I don't know, likable, maybe. I don't know what the word for that would be. But I'm expecting to like it in a different way than I like that first one. And those are my expectations. I don't know what else to think about going into this movie, not knowing what has happened in the last 3.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Well, and that's kind of why I wanted to watch the stuff in between, because it's so wildly different. Going into what I expected for this movie, because part 2, part 3, they're pretty much the same movie. The only difference is there is one in 3D and one is not in 3D. And in one, well, I don't want to spoil the ending, but they just kind of switcheroo at some point in time what happens there. So it's not really, you're not really missing much there. He gets the mask. That's the most important piece that you really get in the 3D piece is that Jason gets his iconic mask. Was there anything that you also took away from that one, David, or was that kind of the main walk away?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the main, in terms of, like, the character construction. You know, like, he's now got his kind of iconic look. He gets it from one of the kids. In part 3, I thought that they did a better job than they did in 2 and 1 of making the camp counselors a little bit more... They gave them a little more personality. There's specifically a kid who keeps pranking everybody with, like, blood and knives and...
I hated that kid.
Like, oh, no, I've got an axe in my... You know, like that kind of kid. And so, I know, but it establishes 2 Boy Who Cried Wolf moments. One where he gets murdered and shows up and they're like, oh, whatever. It's just him again, but he's actually dying. And then 2, when one of the other women sees Jason, she's like, Shelly, you dork, get out of here. And then he kills her because she's like, her guard is down because she's been conditioned to think it's Shelly again. But so there's that.
Jason does die allegedly in part 3 after hanging from the barn, right? So allegedly he's dead in part 3. And then you go to part 4. He escapes from the morgue and goes back to Camp Crystal Lake.
Mm-hmm. Because he didn't die?
It's vague. It's pretty vague.
It's sort of... It's not real... Like, he appears dead. It's not quite what we'll get in 6, which is like a full-blown resurrection. It's possible he would hadn't actually died and they just thought he had.
But he goes back, and this is where, for the first time in part 4, we meet Tommy Jarvis. And so Tommy Jarvis becomes a character in part 4. He's played by a very young Corey Feldman. And this one also features a very young Crispin Glover. And what are your thoughts on 4, David?
Part 4 is actually my favorite, I think. They did a little better job with the characters. There's a couple of unique the kids feel kind of unique. That said, there are 4 women in that movie who are virtually undistinguishable from each other. 2 of them might be twins, but I can't confirm that. But the main key part is there's the campers or whatever. They're sharing a little house. They are doing it and smoking drugs and drinking beer and having fun. And then across the way, there's a family, a mom, her daughter, and little Tommy Jarvis. And the movie sort of now I'll say this too. They really wanted the Friday the 13th movies to end with part 3. However, it made money. So they were like, okay, fine, we'll make 4, but we really want this to be the last one. The studio, apparently, according to some industry insiders at the time, hated being associated with Friday the 13th. So they were like, this is it, kill Jason. And so the movie ends with Tommy Jarvis, a little kid, managing, with the help of his sister, to kill Jason and hack him into pieces. But that has deep psychological impacts on Tommy, who does reappear in part 5 and 6.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that leads us to part 5, where he is in a mental institution and you have a copycat Jason. That's pretty much the big thing. Tommy Jarvis sees Jason all the time, so he's dealing with the trauma from that. And then that brings us to part 6. So going through that, my expectation was, oh my God, please just don't be another one where Jason aimlessly wanders around and kills people for no real reason other than that's what we expect. For the love of God, make it something different. So that's kind of where I was at.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed because part 5, Tommy, between 4 and 5, Tommy has a very reasonable growth of his character. He is traumatized. He's 5 years later. By the way, it should be noted that I'm paying attention to the actual time references in each of these movies. This 1986 film is set in 1991 in all technicality. But Tommy, he's going through a hard time. It would be a really interesting story, but you have to glean what you can between the 22 murders of the film. 6 is kind of a soft reboot of that. It's a completely different characterization of this Tommy character. He is not he's much more relaxed. He's much more able to talk to people. In 5, he's barely able to speak to anybody. So it's a different character. Yeah. Maybe depending on what that ending was supposed to mean. But so we open up here. So my expectations going in were okay, I've heard this is good. I heard this breathes new life into it. And then prior to watching these films, I didn't realize that it was this deep in before the supernatural component came in, where Jason became this sort of undead monster. So I don't know. I guess I was ready to be surprised because I found 5 to be pretty disappointing.
Josh, how did that help? Do you feel like you have any questions or questions answered? Did that help at all?
I don't think it did. I don't think it helped at all.
Okay. Well, let's move forward then.
Yeah.
Into 6. What are your... I'd like you to lead because you probably have questions and we might have answers. So
we open up with Tommy and his friend basically in a mad dash to the cemetery, and he's rambling about, we got to make sure he's dead. We got to make sure he's dead. And I'm like, what are we talking about? We've jumped right into something here.
Yeah, that is a quite harsh way to be introduced into Tommy Jarvis. And so, yes, with the context, Tommy, don't know who Alan is, he's just there, but Tommy is headed to really make sure that Jason is dead. Now, the context lost is after he was chopped up into little pieces, he's a fully formed human being in this coffin, so we just ignore that part.
Oh, I see. News. I wouldn't have known he was chopped up without that little briefer.
I mean, and in the 5th one, he's said to have been cremated. So there's a little bit of inconsistency there because the franchise, like, I don't think they cared that much, but they clearly cared enough because they really tried to maintain some level of continuity between all these films.
It sounds like the producers of the past really tried to kill him, and producers of the future said, "Joke's on you, I don't care."
We're just going to bring him back anyway.
They get to the grave, they unbury Jason, stab him with a metal piece.
I'm wondering, because I'm not expecting anything crazy yet. I'm expecting he's going to pop open the coffin and that they'll be empty. That's what I expect. So when we see
Maggoty Jason.
fully covered in worms and maggots, I'm like, oh, well, what are they going to do now? I'm so confused. And then, yeah, he runs off and breaks off a piece of the, like, iron fence, stabs Jason with it. And I'm still like, well, why? Now, why have you done that? Come to find out, I was right. He shouldn't have. There's no reason. There's no reason to have stabbed that dead body.
Nope.
Because then lightning strikes it,
As it does.
and as soon as the lightning strike happened, I went, "Oh, I know what's happening."
Victor Frankenstein.
And I got really excited because I was like, "Oh, we're leaning in. We're going full in. I'm so excited now." And sure enough, Zombie Jason pops up. Why do you think they brought the mask with them?
To burn it.
Tommy has been holding on to the mask since the death of Jason, I believe. And he, I guess, thought that, like, I'm going to go burn this corpse. So I better throw this mask in with it, symbolic of what he wants to do. But just a bad idea altogether.
So you've spent all these years traumatized by this incident. You've been in mental health rehabilitation for years. And as soon as you're released, the first thing you do is bring him back to life.
That
was your first. The first thing you did was bring him back to life. Tommy.
What's the phrase? One often meets their fate on the path to avoid it.
You know how hard that is to do, and you did it all because you shouldn't have stabbed that clearly dead body.
You should have. I know he wanted that vengeance. He still had that anger and rage and was just like, I need to just kill him. But brother, you brought the gasoline. You were about to do it. So, like, you ain't got to go that far.
Yeah, just burn it. Like,
When in part 2, when that lady should have put the chainsaw in Jason's ass, he should have just put the gasoline on him and lit the fire.
Yes. Just burn it, man, and then cover it back up. Everyone knows lightning brings bodies back to life. Why would you tempt fate?
It's truly psychotic to take all that effort to dig up the body, open the coffin, break the fence, and stab it. After seeing it, again, you saw it filled with maggots. He's dead, man. And you still are going to stab it in a fit of rage.
It is worth noting, by the way, that this opening sequence with Tommy and his buddy is almost exactly what we see happen at the beginning of Friday 5, where Corey Feldman comes back for, like, the opening stinger of part 5, where he watches two people dig up Jason Voorhees, and Jason Voorhees is alive inside, and Jason comes to, like, hunt him down. Then he wakes up and it was all a dream. But it was like whoever made this movie watched that and went, it's a good idea. We should just do that. But it actually happened.
So not only, though, does Jason come back to life, we get another very important piece of the mythos here, which is Jason punches a hole through Tommy's buddy's body, meaning he's also got superhuman strength now.
He is not regular Jason.
He did not have superhuman strength in 1 and 2. He didn't gain that in the others? Okay.
It was in line with Michael Myers, though, where it was like, how did he survive that? There's no real way. It's not exactly sure, but it's plausible that things could be, but like a big stretch of plausible. So I think that's where. But yes, this is the really first time he's killed as an undead super horror slasher.
So then we get the title card, which I really freaking loved because it's just a James Bond title card.
Yes, it is. You zoom into Jason's eye, and you see Jason appear.
Walk out, face the camera.
And make a slash. and it goes, and it would have been great if the music went, ha ha, or something like that. But no, we get a very, very 80s title card. Actually, it feels more like a very 70s title card.
So this is how the movie kicks off. Jason, and it really is that simple. Zap. Now Jason's a problem again. He's out. Tommy's running around like Paul Revere, except nobody believes him.
Nobody.
Why would anyone believe him?
They rebranded the whole town to get away from Jason because of all of this.
They don't call it Crystal Lake anymore.
It's Forest
They call it
Green or something like that.
Forest Green or something, which is just a crayon. I don't know what that's about. No more Crystal Lake. None of that. We don't talk about that anymore.
No. And so, but then wouldn't you know, camp counselors show up at this GD camp again.
Why you wouldn't just shut it down completely instead of just
the city
rebranding
should.
it?
If they really want this, I mean, that's probably their main source of income is this camp, though. So the one thing that you do get differently from this one is there are actual children. It's not just the camp counselors. You do get a group of small children who come, and that makes it a little interesting, something different. It's just been horny teenagers up until this point, but now they have to be responsible horny teenagers.
With great horniness comes great responsibility that they must work with because they have a bunch of 7-year-olds wandering around.
Yeah.
So it's not the biggest group of characters either. I think it's only like 6 maybe that we have here. The actual like camp leaders in probably one of the funnier scenes of the movie get killed by Jason first. They're like, well, outside of the guy who gets killed at the gravesite, they're the first kill. They're rolling to camp in a VW Bug. They're arguing about maps. And then a very meta moment where she sees Jason in the road and she goes, I've seen enough horror movies to know a guy in the mask is not somebody to be messed with. And Jason's just standing there, pulls back. They try to fight back as best they can. They shoot him. It doesn't go well. But early on, setting up a little bit of like a more comedic tone at times for this particular Friday the 13th compared to the other films.
Yeah, and I like that comedic tone. That is something different that is one of those things that I was expecting. I mean, not necessarily comedy, but something different. And leaning into it being a little ridiculous. I think the problem is, at least, it's easy to appreciate it today. But I'm sure in 1986, they were very much like, this is the 6th movie in 6 years. Please give us a break from this shit.
Yes.
But now in hindsight, I can see like, oh no, I can appreciate where an attempt was made to differentiate it from the others. And the comedy's part of that.
It's kind of inevitable. They had to find something. In the 5th one, they tried to find that something with being like, okay, this one doesn't technically have Jason in it. It's something kind of different. We're focusing our story in a different place, even though we're keeping the Jason iconography, if you will, of the guy in the hockey mask. But that didn't work, so they move on, and they try this out. And I think that ultimately this feels like a new start to the franchise, because there's a different setup, a different premise. He's not just crazy Jason Voorhees, the psycho who lives near Camp Crystal Lake or whatever. He's an undead killing machine who the only way to survive Jason is to have never been near him. Like he will keep following you. He will keep coming after you. He doesn't care if you're a horny teen anymore either. You could just be some dudes having fun paintballing out in the woods. You are gonna get these hands.
Yeah, I love the paintball scene. Great set piece there, with Jason just kind of stalking these. They're just They're not even. I don't even think they're really playing. They talk about practicing or something. Yeah, they're not even serious about it. And of course, Jason takes some paintballs to the chest, and that's funny stuff.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, there is some real plot going on where Tommy has got Megan, the sheriff's daughter. It's always the sheriff's daughter or something.
Always.
Like that.
She's immediately turned on by Tommy.
She is into Tommy, but also she's the only one in town who believes him. Mm-hmm. So they are plotting how to kill Jason again, which I would sincerely not trust Tommy with anymore.
No.
You've ruined this, and you should leave. Let someone else handle it. You are the only one who could have fucked this up. I think you brought him back to life. Anyway. So they're plotting at the same time as Jason stalking around, killing everybody at Camp Forest Crystal Green.
Yeah, and my favorite, I think, my favorite of these kills really isn't because like the kills themselves are very fantastic. It's just because there's a massive stunt to go with it, which is that Jason kills these two in an RV or a Winnebago or whatever this thing is. It's a big RV like car, and they're driving down. Well, they were getting it on first, but Jason made sure that was put to an end. That's the best way to summon Jason, is to start getting it on.
He sniffs it out, man.
That's one of the primary things I've learned from this series, is as soon as people start going, hey, Betsy, it's like it summons him. He appears from the wall. Anyway,
Also, maybe just don't have sex in the woods.
it's a great idea. I mean, avoid that at all costs. They get in the car after getting out to fix something. Jason's in the RV with them. And so Jason takes them out while driving, and they do this massive, I mean, honestly, this is probably one of the more expensive aspects of the movie, stunt where the RV hits something and flips and huge crash. Of course, Jason survives. He's fine. But then it's on fire, and he's standing on top of it all menacingly. It's honest. I think it's my favorite part of the movie.
It was a good part. They actually put some effort into a lot of this, and you see some stuff where you wouldn't see them in the other movies. Like even the opening scene, you have that scene where they're just driving, and you get that tight shot of the tire squealing around. Shots like that, a thoughtful shot, if you will. It's not necessarily purposeful, but it's thoughtful. Everything else has just been like set up and go kill up until this one. There's some shot thought that went into it, and I appreciated that.
I wanted to mention another one of my favorite kills here before we go into Tommy's and Megan's trap for Jason, which was how he kills the sheriff by folding him in half.
He just folds him like
What
an
the
accordion.
heck?
And the sad thing about that is the sheriff was doing okay. He had that shotgun. He was blasting him. And then it just all came crashing
I
down.
just came out blasting.
It just all came crashing down in one quick
Yeah,
motion.
he did. He folded that mofo in
That
half.
and the girl in the Winnebago where he slammed her face and just indented the metal of the to it, and so
Into the metal of the car. Yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
one. Another very cartoonish death. That's like Wile E. Coyote getting the door slammed in his face.
Every now and then, because some of these kills over the last 6 movies are a little repetitive. There's a lot of like eye gouging or just stabbing with
stabbing a spear through a bed.
There's at least 2 guys that get their crotches impaled. But in this particular, every now and then, there will be a kill in one of these Friday movies that genuinely catches me off guard, and the accordion thing was one. Him just going, I was like, oh. I was like, I expected him to die, but not like that.
Superhuman, man. He's superhuman now. So Tommy ultimately decides that the only way to really stop Jason is to send him back to the place where he belongs, the bottom of Crystal Lake, I guess. So he and Megan set a trap leading to this final confrontation where they fight on a boat. They try to anchor, or they want to basically they want to see Jason sleeping with the fishes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They tie it to his...
They try to hog tie him, or they try
tie it to his neck or to his
Will
foot.
Rogers rope him with a chain. And
Yeah.
It was hard. They tried a lot of ways to get him. They hook him. They even I think they even hit him with the propeller of the boat.
Yeah, that's ultimately what gets him, because he was pulling them under, but they managed to get the boat propeller started and sort of slice his neck a bunch of times. And that seems to be enough to disable Jason, and he's floating at the bottom of Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah, you think he's got to be dead, right? Because he took a boat to the neck. He's attached to a boulder, just hanging there.
And Tommy says at this point, what has to be the line of the movie, because Tommy, what the F are you talking about? He says, it's finally over. I'm like, Tommy, it was over. You brought him back to life.
This is true. This entire movie is your fault.
It's finally over. If you had just stayed home and dealt with your therapy like the rest of us by indulging in sweets, you could have, all this would have been over.
Now you've done and killed him twice. So you think.
Anyway, we are then, final image, these movies can't avoid this. Like, if they really want, so they managed to avoid this a little bit with the third one, I think. But they can't avoid this. They pan back to Jason under the water one last time. And what do we see, guys?
Bloop.
One open eye.
And it's moving.
Just looking.
He's just down there finding Jason.
He's just waiting. He's just waiting.
Just waiting.
So now we know he's not dead, but he is in a sleeper mode, I guess.
Yeah, he is restrained for now.
Until he is brought back. I don't know. What are we doing next? I don't think it's 7, but I can't
I
wait
think
to...
we're moving all the way to Jason X, aren't we?
Jason X. We are jumping into Jason X.
Now, are you guys going to keep going on
Yes.
this journey? Garrett is.
I want to try.
I am committed.
Well, then I can't wait to find out who cuts him loose.
I started the next one, but I stopped it because I was like, I don't want to jump too ahead. And then I know he takes Manhattan at some point in time before they launch him into space. And so this movie here, again, it changed the trajectory, but it's I feel like if you look at the director's list and who's behind some of these, like there's very few consistent things. And so Jason has no continuity for the most part. Some people, I think, try to put things together and make it something. The introduction of Tommy Jarvis, I think, really helped, giving a central character to work with for these movies. But I don't know. They're going to launch him into space again. So I don't know. I can't wait.
As far as, so from what, I'm looking at the sort of some details here on the franchise. This will be the last we see of Tommy Jarvis, which I think is unfortunate, but I get it. They didn't really have a plan because he's massively inconsistent between this and the fifth one. That said, we will see. Like, I know that these first 6 are about as connected as they can be. Like they do in tech, like based on what's said in the movies, follow each other. The next one,
and they use previous parts of the movie to help build the lore of Jason.
Like Tommy, when he's like standing over the grave, you hear sound cues from the fourth movie playing in his head. I know that the seventh one is going to open and Jason is still in that water. So I'm just kind of surprised that they tried as hard as they did to maintain some level of, well, the last time we saw Jason, this is what happened. So we have to pick up from there. When they could have just done whatever they wanted to do and nobody would have cared.
Let's get into our final rating and review of Jason Lives. I think we're there. I don't know. I do think it's better than 2. I don't think it's better than 1. I am unvarnished by the others, personally speaking. So I think I want to go with 2.5. I talked myself down mid sentence. I think it's 2.5. It's okay. It's okay.
Fair. I think going through this whole journey, this conversation actually really helped because I was so bogged down because I'm trying to watch them in a week's time frame, and it's tough to sit through all of those and be like, this is the same thing. But if you pick it apart and you do find the pieces that are good and that do connect, there's something there. This one changed it. It made it fun. It made it more entertaining than just horny teenagers getting murdered. So I will go with the 3 stars that you decided not to go with.
Yeah.
I am going to fall in the same space, but I think this watch and this conversation has made me appreciate the very first one more. I gave the first one...
Agreed with that.
I gave the first one 3 stars at the time. I think I might up that to 3.5. Because while I do think this is better than some of the others that I have now seen, I think this is just a 3 stars. I don't think this is like... I think they did what they could to reimagine it, to make it new, and I appreciate some of the changes. I don't think it like elevates in a way that I go like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. This is amazing. So I think I'm going to push Friday the 13th 1 up a little bit. And I'm going to put this at like 3 stars and put this like in the mix with the final chapter. But I think I like the final chapter more than this.
That is our thoughts on Friday the 13th Part 6. Jason Lives. Let's play Letterboxd game. I got some reviews here. See what these people are saying. 3.5 stars. This is the most fun I've had with this one. It reminds me of Elm Street 4, where there's no fucking around, just kill after kill. This one is no stars but a heart, and the world would be a better place today if this had won Best Picture. 1 star. Jason, just die already, please.
He was dead.
He was already dead. Just stay dead.
That's true. 3 stars. Jason is the working class slasher. My man doesn't stick to a single weapon. Bro just uses whatever he has lying around to get the job done. Very practical, astute, and grounded. And then finally, 4.5 stars. Does anybody know how you play the Camp Blood card game in this?
Oh man.
Oh yeah, they did bring
that. I actually had that thought too of like that does sound fun. I want to play. So I bet somebody out there. I'm gonna Google that after this.
So what do we think?
Gosh. Technically, Josh, it is still you're still lead off, man.
I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with a 3.0 even on this one. I feel like it's safe, but I'm gonna go safe.
I'll up it a little bit. I will say maybe it's a 3.2.
See, and this is the highest one, right? Like average rating is what. So we know that. So I'm gonna up that a little bit. I'm gonna see it, call it. I'm gonna 3.4 it.
Okay. 3.0, 3.2, and 3.4 from the squad here. Let's see what we're gonna have today. Ooh, it's been a minute, but we've got a direct hit today. We haven't had one of those in a few weeks. This direct hit is a 3.2. It's David's win, unfortunately, to me and to Garrett. I know, big bummer, major bummer.
No,
yeah.
Celebratory. We're happy.
3.2. Yeah, we could feel the whole nation's kind of breath leave their body when they heard this win.
Well, to set where we are, Garrett and I are tied again now at 16.
Nice.
Josh is at 12, so very much still in the running is Josh. All he needs is 2 direct hits or just 4 straight wins would put him right back with us. And there's,
Still
we got
plenty of time.
2 movies left in Scares. We got a lot of time left. Like this might be the closest it's ever been.
I agree. It's usually a runaway.
All right. We will be back next week with Jason X. Believe it or not, go find that wherever it is streaming. Catch up on the others if you want to go play that game with Garrett and David. You can watch those wherever they're streaming. I'm sure I think they're on multiple places now. So go find them. Friday the 13th. Jason X, though, is the official discussion for next week. So go do that and find us online at SoManySequels.com. We will see you all very soon. Bye.